Hello. Today we're looking at Genesis chapter 16 and 17. Sorry, I've just heard something very exciting, but never mind. Let's go on with the lesson. In Genesis chapter 16, as where we left off, we find that now the God of the whole earth, the God of the whole world, has now identified himself with one particular family and one particular individual called Abraham. So now the God of the universe is now called the God of Abraham. So this is very hard for some people to understand, but once you get this to understand that God is actually a God of individuality, He can select you out of a bunch of mischievous people and make you His mouthpiece for the whole world. So now in chapter 16, we find that Sarai did not bear him any child. In other words, Sarai was barren. And then after they stayed for 10 years without a child, even after the Lord had promised them that they'll have a child of promise, she had an idea. She said, why don't you have a child with my Egyptian slave Hagar, and perhaps I can have children through her. Perhaps I can build a family through her. So she was actually hoping for this thing to turn out okay. And apparently when Hagar realized that she was pregnant, she despised her mistress. Women, she despised her mistress, and she didn't respect her. And at some point in this same chapter, you find that Hagar fled. She fled, and she met the angel of the Lord, who asked her where she was going and where she was coming from. Many are the times that we start things and then we flee, not knowing where we are going, not knowing what we have started or what we can do to accomplish something. Chapter 17. In chapter 16, let me just mention one more thing. In chapter 16, you find that the name of Ishmael is given as the child of Hagar, and this child is described to be one who will be a wild donkey of a man. What a description. Chapter 17, we see now Abraham is 99. The time that he had Ishmael, he was about 86, and the Lord did not speak to him. He waited for him for about 12 years before he can speak to him. And then when he appeared to him, he told him, walk righteous before me, and I'll make you a great nation, and I'll bring kings from you, and this land where you walk as a stranger I'll give to your descendants. And we find that the name of Sarai is changed to Sarah, so that she becomes a princess, a mother of many nations. Now, as the Lord was speaking to Abraham, you find that Abraham actually approached the Lord. He was actually laying on the ground with his face to the ground, and then he said, if only you could bless Ishmael, because he thought that's the only way he was going to be blessed. But the Lord emphasized and told him, Ishmael I will bless, 12 kings will come from him, but he's not a child of a covenant. The child of a covenant is actually Isaac, the child who's going to be born from Sarah. And in this chapter we see the introduction of circumcision, and it has been carried on in Israel up to now.